in these majors and in these big PGA events. There's like 5 of them now. So fortunately, they all go off at pretty long odds. So one of them's going to hit in the, never know. I've already bet them all for the U.S. Open next week. So you've got Corey Connors, you've got Mackenzie Hughes, Adam Hadwin, Sloan. I'm getting very familiar with these guys and their young careers.
All right.
Most of them, actually, there's 3 of them from my area. So that gives me an extra reason to root for them.
I see. We've got to do a golf show sometime, Scott. It sounds like, you've got go ahead.
We got to play some golf. And, when we're crossing borders again and coming back down to Vegas, there's just nothing but great courses down there. Up, the Shadow Creek, Cascada, the Wynn that's all been redone now because they figured out that the whales stopped coming when they took it out and wanted to put it in a water park. Not a lot of whales want to come for the water park. So that probably shouldn't have got that far before the board of directors vetoed that. But they're putting that back in. Is it all good now? I haven't been to Vegas since, I don't know, last December.
They took all the cranes down about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It looks like it's almost complete. I don't know if the course is open yet again, but they took all that other shit out, and the cranes are all gone now as of like 2 weeks ago, is the last report I read.
Well, right. I'm looking forward to the next time.
All right, we're all over the map here on Slapshot this week. We're going to be doing restaurant reviews in about 3 minutes. Hang on.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that's probably going to happen for sure. Anyway, let's talk and introduce our guests, shall we? And then we'll get to the NFC West. If you're watching us, again, type in your questions and comments. If you have a restaurant review, go ahead. We'll maybe put you on the show.
Hold on. I see Doug's geared up. I'm going to have to go down and put my shirt on. Talk amongst yourself for a minute while I go.
You got to get your uniform on.
I have many of them.
Go ahead.
So you've gone with the white. I'll go with the dark blue. So I'll be back in a moment.
All right, this is my Kentucky outfit. That's the reason I wore the white coat. I need a mint julep, but
I didn't need to see Bob Baffert running across my TV. That was not.
All right, we'll wait for Scott to come back because we've got to get this recorded correctly. Let me check out our viewers and see if we have questions already. I'll bet we do. We have a few viewers. Anyway, so let's see. All right. That's quite a view Scott has, the Vancouver Bay.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's pretty.
And I've got a Larry, you don't know what's coming. I've got a bit of a surprise for all 3 of you here. I've got pictures of all 3 of your houses I'm going to put on the screen. So you're going to enjoy this. Welcome back, Scott. Welcome back. Russell Wilson. Oh, man.
Well, that's the beauty of it. When you've got your own name on the back of the jersey and it's your team, you have to get –
you pretty much have to go there.
Yeah, Scott Wilson, our guest, and Russell Wilson. I didn't know you 2 were brothers.
Nope. No relation there, and certainly no relation skill-wise.
And Larry the Cal football. So we're going to have to do some Jared Goff chat?
That's it right there. That's it.
All right.
All right, here we go. Welcome. Let's talk some football. Introducing our guest there, Doug Grismore from the Seattle area, but he grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so he does know the NFC West. In fact, this is a true story. True story. I understand, Doug, that Jim Harbaugh touched your ass hundreds of times. Is that true? Hundreds of times?
Absolutely true.
Now, it turns out Doug played football in high school, and he was a center. True story. And the quarterback on that team at, I think, Palo Alto High School, your quarterback was?
Jim Harbaugh. That's correct.
Wow. Isn't that something? Now, those are credentials to be on the show. If that's not, I don't know what is. Anyway, welcome, Doug. Doug has enjoyed marginal success, I would say, working in some software company. I think it's called Micro something or other. I don't remember the name of that company.
A couple of places, yeah.
Up there in Seattle somewhere. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, and I believe congratulations are in order, Mr. Grismore. You just bought a brand new home. You're moving in there next week. And if you watch your screen, I'm going to put up a picture. This is. I'm not joking here. This is the house you and your wife, lovely wife, have just bought in Seattle. Now check that spread out.
That's it.
Is that amazing or what? Wow.
That's the place.
All right. Welcome to the show, and tell us, when can we come over and have a barbecue, man?
Yeah.
After next week, we close on a week from Monday, and then we'll get ourselves moved in there and start enjoying it.
Good luck.
That doesn't look like Seattle topography right in the near background? Is that looks to me like it's Brewster, Washington, or somewhere like Lake Chelan?
It is. That is Lake Chelan in the background.
Wow.
Boom.
Oh, good call,
Nice
man.
identification.
Wow, what a call. We didn't set that up. That's amazing. Oh, with all those water and lakes, how did you know that?
I've been in that area. I know what that area looks like, and it looks like that.
Yep.
Wow.
I actually believe I've driven by that house.
It's only been there for about 6 months, so you would have had to have been there pretty recently.
No, I haven't been there since last summer.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen. But I know where that is.
All right,
we
so
love the spot.
all right, so our other guest today is Scott Wilson from north of the border in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Scott's
Scott's
clearly very aware of Eastern Washington and Central Washington geography.
okay, and Scott has been an executive for many years with experience. I can't even get through this. Software experience in online sports books and casinos, but he's best known as a raconteur. He travels the world attending the most exciting sporting events, always gets the best seat, drinks the finest wine, dines out in the finest restaurants. And he
Not this year.
and here's, wait a minute, I got my joke. And he plays more golf than Donald Trump. Scott Wilson should write his biography, and if he did, he would surely call it "The World Is My Man Cave." Let me show you Scott. Let me show you Scott Wilson's view. You can already see it, but that's Scott Wilson's view of Vancouver. Now, is that pretty sharp or not?
That's Vancouver, all right. That's right.
Nice.
Welcome, Scott Wilson.
Thank you.
All right. Finally, we have Larry Greenfield. We had to have one sane person on this panel today. And I don't know why we asked Larry Greenfield to be here. He's also rooted in the NFC West. He was born in Los Angeles. He cheered for the Rams back when they had Roman Gabriel as the quarterback. He went to school in the Bay Area at UC Berkeley. Go Bears. And he later earned his law degree at Georgetown University. Yet he still managed to retain his conservative, we have to politics just for a second, retain his conservative political credentials, and became head of the Ronald Reagan Foundation and a fellow at the Claremont Institute. He's also a financial advisor, which means he does some sports betting on the side. And he just bought a new house in Summerlin. That's true. He just moved to Summerlin, and we've got to show that. There you go. How's that, Larry? Nice home, huh? Okay, that's not quite his house, but it's pretty nice, okay? Anyway, and here's the closer. Now, Larry, welcome to the show, Larry.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to focus on this division today, Nolan. We're talking the NFC, right? The senior circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the NFC North, the Norris division, the black and blue of the Vikings and the Packers and the Bears and Lions, oh my. Yeah, we got the NFC South now with the Brady Bunch and the 51sters, the Falcons, the all-time chokers, and the Panthers. Yes, we're going to Carolina in my mind. And the
Who's the
Saints.
quarterback for them now? I can't remember.
We got the Saints with Drew Summer Breeze. Makes me feel fine. And yeah, we got the NFC Big East. How about them Cowboys and the G-Men and the Fly Eagles Fly and the Washington Redskins? Okay, everybody, geez, the Washington football team. But it's the West, Nolan, that's the best. The NFC Wild West, home of the Golden 49ers, the legacy of Montana to Rice, and Steve Young, my all-time lefty, home of the Seattle Seahawks, the Legion of Boom, baby, the 12th man in the autonomous zone, chop, chop, home of the Cardinals, the rising phoenix from the desert Southwest, and home of the homeless, or shall we say the Cleveland, LA, I mean Anaheim, I mean St. Louis, and now again Los Angeles Rams. Bienvenido a casa, el little lambs. Mi casa es su casa, amigos.
Very good.
Wow. Scott, you've got some competition, man, in the Wow. That's wow. I don't know how we top that. Just pull the plug. That's the end of the show.
I think maybe
Whoa.
Larry was at an open mic night last
Yes.
night. Or something, testing it out.
Well, I gotta
Right,
go.
so-
Thanks, Dallas.
All right, guys, just a second. You guys didn't see my house, did you? You know, you guys all showed off your stuff. Now I'm going to show my house. The way I've been running in sports, and I'm figuring I got football season, I've already made my plans. For my residence, I would say probably by January of 2021, the way this is going. Ta-da!
There it is.
Oh, sweet.
Glorious.
My home on wheels. There we go. All right.
Holiday Road.
That was open mic night. They're going to pull the plug on all of us. All right, let's talk some football for serious. Get kind of serious if we can. Let's talk some football and talk about that NFC West. Those of you who have questions, you can type them in. We're going to do two teams, then do a halftime where we do take questions from viewers. And here we go, talking about the NFC West. Let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals, shall we? Team that was in last place last year went 5-11, and they tied a game. Very exciting young team though. The Cardinals, don't be misled by this by their one last record. They're really, I think, headed in the right direction. We will all agree. I'll let Doug Grismore start. We'll kind of wind around in, I call it counterclockwise fashion. The Arizona Cardinals, let me get where you can see the screen, forecasted at 7.5 wins at Spreads.ca. Juice is about even. What do you think about the Cardinals this year, Doug?
Oh, first, I feel like 7.5 is probably about right.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe a little lower, but like 7.5 feels about right. You know, it's the really hard. There are two really hard things in Arizona, in my opinion. The first one is, you know, whether or not Kyler Murray is the next Russell Wilson or the next Robert Griffin III. Like, and we don't know yet. You know, I'm hopeful that, you know, he's a little slight of a guy. I'm hoping that he's durable and his speed gets him out of trouble. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Really tough place to play in Glendale. Really tough defense. And then the other question is about Cliff Kingsbury, whether or not he's, you know, Bill Belichick or Steve Sarkisian. I don't know which he's going to turn out to be. I have a sense that it's the latter, but we'll see. A lot of people are really high on, you know, second-year defensive coordinator, second-year offensive coordinator, second-year quarterback. Like, those are times when teams move big. Over under is 2 wins more. That seems about right.
Well, I just got an incoming text that I won this week's handicapping contest. So, yeah, there we go. So that's great.
All right, excellent. Well, we can't wait to get to your turn, Mr. Wilson. Let's let Larry Greenfield go, and then you'll go in turn, sir. We can't wait to hear your wisdom. You get the button here. You get to go last, so you have the advantage. You get to basically piggyback on everybody else's wisdom, sir. Go ahead, Larry Greenfield.
Yeah, happy to talk about the Cardinals. Fun team to watch. They should have a good offense. 5-10-1 last year, but they picked up DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver. They often run 4 wide receiver sets. To the credit of the coach last year, it wasn't working out, so he did shift his offense and featured the tight ends. They have an easy schedule to start. They do have the 49ers, of course, but then Washington, Detroit, Carolina, and the Jets. The schedule gets a little harder later in the year. I lean slightly under 7.5. I originally had seen a line at 6.5. I would have gone over. At 7.5, I go under a little bit, but right around 7 is what I expect. They could be in high-scoring games, so week by week, you might want to pick the overs. Defense is okay, not great yet. I expect a nice offense, four wide receivers set. They lost David Johnson, but they picked up Kenyon Drake as the running back, and he has high expectations. Should be a fun team to watch. I say 7 wins.
How about that?
All right, Mr. Wilson.
I'm just, you know, for the Arizona Cardinals, for me, I'm going to be playing weekly props on like Larry Fitzgerald. That's really where I have fun, because I think he's obviously just an ageless wonder, but the numbers always come down when they put them out. So for the first 3 weeks, I'm going to be playing Larry Fitzgerald props. That's my move.
Yeah, he's got that streak, the reception in every game streak that they try really hard to get out of the way early in games. It'll be super exciting if any of them go late. Yes,
that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, that's the prop bets on the NFL are just so underrated when you think about things like that, because that's the fun for me. You know, if it's a team that I'm not following greatly, like the Seahawks, obviously I'm wearing this as you do, but when it comes down to the other games, if it's on, I'm going to pick a reason to bet on it. But in this particular year, it'll be Fitzgerald if it comes down to Arizona.
By the way, the totals on these Arizona games, I think Larry mentioned, bet over on all these games because it's a pretty weak defense and they're going to be airing it out. It's Kingsbury's offense. That's the old Texas Tech gunslinger mentality. And they scored a lot of points but gave up a lot of points last year. I think they were 10-6 to the over. But these totals on these Arizona games are going to be probably in the 50s and certainly the low 50s. Does that scare you guys away from betting over on a team like this?
Not if they're on a fast track, and especially if they're playing from behind. I actually like them over in games where they're the underdog and they have to throw the ball, either a pick six or, interestingly, Murray as a rookie was one of the top quarterbacks in accuracy for longer passes 20 yards or over. He's really a good player. I expect a lot from him.
The only thing I wonder about is if offenses will click early, no preseason, delayed start to practice, like what will week one look like? And will we see really tight timing that's necessary for some of those higher scores? So I worry really early in the season that's a tougher call.
I agree with that. I'm not sure the very first week or two we will have explosive offenses. Defenses might be ahead of the offenses.
Yeah, that's a great point about that younger teams, inexperienced teams with new coordinators, especially offensive coordinators, are going to struggle a bit because they haven't had the reps yet. Teams like the 49ers, that's reasonably a veteran team. The Seattle Seahawks, easily a veteran team, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. And same thing you can say probably about the Rams but this young team you would think may struggle a little more. Question I have though about looking at the 7.5 wins here, this is the basement on the win total projections for this division. So the forecast is 7.5. You'll see the other totals shortly, but everybody else the odds makers expect all the other teams to have a better than 500 record. These are all solid teams, competitive teams at least. Is this the best team in the NFL, Scott Wilson? Best division, excuse me. Is this the best division in the NFL is what I meant to say?
I mean, that's pretty competitive, that's for sure. And from the Seahawks point of view, I think they've made some moves that improve them versus the Niners. I actually went down to the Niners game last year in that 27-27 overtime game.
Great game.
What a blast that was.
That was a great game. Wow.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun. And but you could see just how much of a problem George Kittle has been for the Seahawks. You play them twice, you've got to deal with it. So they went out and they got Jamal Adams now. So that should hopefully help neutralize that threat. And with the other added gentleman we have there, I think the defense is starting to show that hopefully they're going to be a little bit Legion of Boomy.
Larry?
Yeah, I do feel like that move was directly targeting, teams with big tight ends who were super athletic. There's no question in my mind that's what it was about.
Yeah, then they've got to get through. They got to get by that team. So yeah, beautiful move. I thought, as long as it works out in terms of the personnel and whatnot. But Pete Carroll's always good at taking the troublesome guys and putting them into the game.
Finally, Doug, NFC West, best division in football, yes or no?
I think best top to bottom. I think it's the strongest division in football. I think is a better way to say the same thing. You can be 7.5 wins and not win a single division game. And that could be how it goes down for Arizona. Like they could end up being, an 8-8 season would be outstanding for them, which means they run the table, lose a couple of really tough road games, and then can't win one in the division. It wouldn't shock me at all.
All right, Los Angeles Rams. Larry Greenfield's old stomping ground. You're going to feel this one first, Larry. This team is 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, a game they never should have been in because of that New Orleans Saints farce of a call, non-call. But they got there and they played defensively well. And then the defense absolutely, Phillips' defense fell apart last year. I don't know what in the hell happened. Maybe you guys can tell us. And Goff didn't seem to gel very well. A real disappointment of a 9-7 season for the Rams last year, forecasted at 8.5 wins. Looks like the over's got some extra juice on it. What do you think, Mr. Greenfield?
Yeah, I'm slightly under on the Rams at 8.5 in their new stadium. without any fans. The roster has changed a lot, 9-7 last year. The schedule is mixed. It's hard for them to make a run. They don't have all soft opponents lined up or bunched together. The Rams fell hard last year in rushing yards, tempted, of course, with Gurley's problems. The perception of Goff and Coach McVay might be a little too high. I think the league caught up to them a little bit. They're fairly predictable. They use the 11 personnel. They throw a lot, especially when they're down. In fact, the most in the league. Cam Akers is now the starter at running back. Good question whether he'll live up to his potential. Questions about the offensive line dominating. Goff from Cal, go Bears. Still a question mark. Obviously, I loved him at Cal. He got off to a great start in the NFL. He does have a little bit of happy feet. He's really comfortable when not pressed. Struggles a little bit when he is. Great receivers, although they lost Brandon Cooks. So they lost a key receiver, but they still have Woods and Kupp and Reynolds and Higbee at tight end. So they're kind of loaded there. The defense has lost pieces. They still have the best player in the NFL, Aaron Donald. They have Jalen Ramsey now at corner, Donald at tackle, but they lost Corey Littleton, the linebacker. Dante Fowler played great next to tackle Donald. Now he's gone. Eric Weddle is gone. Greg the Leg Zerline, the kicker, is gone. He cost them a game last year with a botched kick. Possibly also some high-scoring games for the Rams. They're going to keep throwing the ball. So they're going to be a fun team to watch, just like the Cardinals. They're bunched in, I believe, now with the Cardinals. They've come down a little bit from their Super Bowl era. I see 8 wins.
Under, says Larry. Which one do you want us to take next?
I'll go.
Doug?
I think that's roughly where I have them too. Although I have a couple of other things I worry about for them. For Rams fans, I would worry that they're they're walking very rapidly away from a running game at all. And my fear for them is that if teams load up on Goff to make him uncomfortable on purpose, if they make Goff beat them, that will work against the Rams and not for the Rams, as you said. He will run around. He will make a poor decision. He is not the common collected Aaron Rodgers guy that he followed, right? I like him quite a bit. He had a really wonderful season a couple of years ago, but I worry he can't get it together. And the losses on defense are huge, right? You just look at that's just this year's losses. I mean, last year's losses were almost as large on the defensive side of the ball for them. So
the Rams had salary cap problems. They gave so much money to their top 3 or 4 guys, and they weren't deep. So if they have injuries, or if Cam Akers, the running back, doesn't prove to be a real player, then they're in trouble. On the other hand, if Goff gets off to a hot start and teams have to respect him, and Cam Akers, the running back, can really play ball, they should be a balanced offense and be okay.
Yeah. I was looking at that. So an interesting depth thing I was looking at just relatedly. We got to 53-mans today. The Seahawks have 17 offensive linemen on their 53-man roster. Very clear where they need depth, right? And then you do see very traditional, with the younger coaches especially, you see very traditional personnel spreads. Like if you look at both Arizona and the Rams, exactly linear 53-man roster, always the same level year over year. 17 offensive linemen. They had 19 under contract before yesterday.
So what is not beefed up then? Do they have enough linebackers? Do they have enough
linebackers that looks weak? And it's very clear the last guy out there was Shaquem Griffin, who got cut today, which is a huge bummer. Like very much local favorite guy.
Yeah.
Way over, in my opinion, way overachieved in his NFL career. I'm sure he'll land somewhere. He's an amazing special teams player, great backup linebacker. I'm sure he'll land. But it was fun to have him with his brother while it lasted.
Mr. Wilson, what do you think about the Rams over or under 8 wins?
Well, I think you've somewhat talked me into the under on this. And, if there's not, as you say, the Rams team from a couple of years ago with a healthy Todd Gurley just running it up the middle for millions of yards and just always having you in it. So if this is just going to be throw and put pressure on Goff, and knowing what they're going to have to do within the division, it feels under 8.5. By the way, we haven't really mentioned the over-unders of 8.5 and whatnot. What about the over-under on how many games are played in the season period? Like, are we thinking this is going to go the distance and without a hitch? Because I don't see that happening.
You don't?
Oh, wow.
No.
Well,
No,
go ahead and elaborate on that. I think I've had maybe a dozen guests on the show the last, the first 4 or 5 shows we did. I don't think obviously we're concerned. I don't think anybody's come out and said, they're expecting the season to end in October or November. Go ahead and give us your theory, Scott.
Well, you look at who COVID affects, first of all, right? It's not skinny people who are getting lots of exercise and whatnot. It's really large people who end up with this that causes all the problems. Well, you've got a bunch of guys that are 325 to 350 pounds on this team. You're not bubbling bubbling them up. You're traveling around, acting as normal. Somebody's going to get a serious illness, if not more than one person in this, I think. And I think that's going to end up stopping the league at some point. There'll be at minimum a pause if I had to bet on it.
Yeah. By the way, before I throw it to Larry and Doug on this, I have heard, at least read something that the NFL has a contingency plan that they could go to a 12-game season. I'm seeing that they're already forecasting, hey, what happens if, or what if they lose a team or two, and what happens there. Anyway, go ahead, Larry. What do you think?
Look, superb respect to the players, the coaches, the staff, the teams. I don't want anyone to get sick. And if everybody is getting sick, that's the most important thing. That having been said, I'm sure they're dedicated to the 16-game season over 17 weeks. If they have to pause 1 week, maybe. I realize their bubble is different than the NBA bubble, but the baseball players have been traveling, and they seem to have done reasonably well. I know about the Cardinals had the issues. I think they're going to get the season in. I hope they do. It's important. And I do want to say that if you have a bet on the over-under, all 16 games have to be played, or you just get your money back. So win or lose, if they don't complete the 16-game season, your bet is void. I don't really like that. Suppose you bet a team to win over 10 games, and they're 12-0, and they stop the season. I think you should get paid, but you don't. They have to play all 16 games.
Yeah. That's before I go, Doug, that's also, I believe, the policy at Spreads.ca, the site in Canada. I think most, just about everywhere has that policy. Otherwise, no one would, put their money down on a future. But go ahead, Doug.
Important detail. I couldn't find a way to bet whether or not the NFL will actually play all 256 games, which I think would be a super interesting line to look at.
Absolutely.
I can't find it. I looked at a couple of UK sites that I'm familiar with. I couldn't find one really easily. There may be one. I just can't find it.
Where do you put that price if you've got to put odds on that?
It would be really interesting. I think we're going to lose at least one game. Like some team is going to have an outbreak and they're going to have to forfeit a game, even if everybody else is clean. I think that's the most likely case. If Tennessee had started the season today, they would have had to forfeit the game because they didn't have enough offensive players to actually field a deep enough team.
Can you say that? Can you say that again? Because that affects my week 1 betting. Tennessee had a rash of.
Tennessee has 44 guys in quarantine as of this morning, including 30 guys on offense.
Wow.
But for Hippocratic oath reasons, they don't actually reveal who's sick or not. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't know. Yeah.
Right. I've got a fantasy draft on Monday, so I'm not taking Henry high. He may not play for a couple games.
Yeah, I don't know which players. They didn't actually say, but they said if we were playing today, we couldn't have played.
Wow.
I'm glad we're playing on the 26th and not now.
Okay, I didn't know
that's scary. Wow. By the way, go ahead,
the
Doug.
college kids have had less access to other athletes. Now they've had clearly more access on campus to other people, and we're seeing campus outbreaks all over the place. University of Alabama is probably the hardest hit from a student population point of view, with over 1,000 positive cases in the first 3 weeks of classes. Lots of other universities have brought people in and sent people home. I don't know if that's more or less risky than the way the NFL is doing things. I would suspect that there's money involved, so they're a lot more careful. More money involved, I guess, is a better way to say that. But I don't know. Do I think every single game, all 256, go off on schedule? No, I think the no is probably ahead there, probably 25% of the way.
All right. Well, let's hope that we get there. We're going to pretend that we've got 256 games or a 16-game schedule. I have a lot of questions that came in. I knew these guests would attract some interesting comments and questions. I can only, unfortunately, read about maybe two or three of them. Johnny Kravitz is asking about, Larry, this is going to be to you, but we can have everyone comment. The new stadium in Los Angeles, Inglewood, I believe, which is where the Hollywood Park, I think, racetrack was.
Yes.
That's where they built the new stadium. The question, it's kind of long here, but he asked, what's the talk in Los Angeles about the new stadium? Obviously, they won't have fans, but is there excitement? You know, hey, man, a $1.5 billion stadium opening up right next to LAX. What's the mood there?
It's more exciting in Vegas with the Allegiant Stadium and the new stadium and the new team in Vegas for the Raiders than it is for the new stadium for the Rams and the San Diego Superchargers. So now the LA Chargers and the LA Rams are sharing. It's not 1.5 billion, by the way. That was like in his fantasy. It's about $5 billion to include the stadium and all the accoutrements. You know, the downtown Inglewood and it's great to gentrify that area. I'm happy. It's right off the freeway. Another traffic nightmare on the 405. No, LA people are like either at the beach or stuck at home. It's not happening. There's no excitement. No.
Well, they're going to sell out, though, right? I mean, when they have fans.
So they will eventually sell out, but all the people who bought their PSLs, personal seat licenses, they got nothing except debt right now, and the right to buy tickets this year, which they get a refund on, except they didn't get the money back. They were told, please apply it to next year's games. So you're kind of a loser if you put 50 grand or 75 grand into your PSL, and then you spend another $20,000 on your tickets. Right now you're holding your ball. Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing. The stadium plans look so cool with the glass and the way it surrounds and the way it lays out. I was really excited to go down for a game or two this year before all this happened, just to see it. Having two new stadiums on the West Coast at the same time was sort of a traveling football fan's wet dream. I totally wanted to go to both stadiums. That's clearly not happening. I'm kind of disappointed, but it makes sense that folks in LA don't care because they don't. There's way too many other things to do there.
Winning solves everything. If they win, everybody's going to get all excited again and get on that train. You can see the Raiders Stadium as you land from LA. And then when you go back from Vegas to LA, you see the Rams Stadium as you land at LAX. So they're both positioned perfectly. Theoretically, yes, one day both those stadiums will be rocking. But right now with COVID, it's just not a lot of excitement. Yeah.
Scott, any thoughts?
I'm looking forward to both of those places. I mean, I had friends that picked up tickets in Vegas for the season, so we were obviously going to buy the ones or take the ones the Seahawks played, when and if. But I was looking forward to getting down to Seattle a couple times, especially we've got a buddy that's a big Cowboys fan, and they're playing on the 27th of September. We have plans to go to Gaucho's Steakhouse and stay at either the Thompson or the Four Seasons, have a good time. We usually do, but it's not happening this year.
Nice.
All right, maybe next time, maybe next year. Another question. I'll try to rush through these a little faster. Question here about Harbaugh's play calling. I said Harbaugh, excuse me. I meant Shanahan. Shanahan's play calling for the 49ers has resulted in arguably 2 Super Bowl losses. He was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, and certainly with the 49ers, they blew a 10-0 lead against the Chiefs. The question is about, obviously that's a very good defensive team, but is Shanahan overrated? What do you think, Doug Grismore?
That's a tough one. I think there are, I have no love lost for lots of offensive coordinators. We had Darrell Bevel here for a really long time, who I don't miss at all. But I'm not sure that Brian Schottenheimer is all that much of an upgrade, for quite frankly, because we don't have enough miles on the guy yet. I think Shanahan's really a gifted play caller. He's invented some really cool line blocking schemes that literally no one else does. You can look up some tackle and tight end curlbacks that they do that no one has ever done. It's a super innovative thing that they do both with their tight end and their fullback. Sizik is amazing, and the way they use him as a blocker to do, like, literally start on the left side, take 2 steps behind the center, and then pivot almost 120 degrees and take out the linebacker on the other side are just some amazing things. Play crafting is sort of the thing I would give Shanahan credit for. That's different than being a game manager. And that seems to be where he's been struggling.
Scott Wilson?
Well, that was very enlightening the way you put all that. But yeah, I mean, I think as a play caller, no, you could have just run the ball a whole pile of times when you're playing New England. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Just clock management, no. But yeah, I think the days of the head coach being the play caller are coming to a close. I think that stuff's going to get moneyballed, and you're going to have someone up in the press booth that says, no, this is what you're doing. And, designing the way things happen, as you say, with the way the players all collapse on each other, et cetera, that's entirely different than the mechanics of the game theory, right? So that I expect is going to really be a different thing over the next couple of years. And he's the best example for reasons for doing that.
All right, so we're closing up the halftime section of our program here. Slapshot, talking about the NFC West. We've already discussed the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams, and now let's talk about the top 2 from last season. We're going to start in alphabetical order, or continue in alphabetical order. The San Francisco 49ers, the division winners, the Super Bowl runners-up last year. They went 13-3, and the projected win total, if you look there, is 10.5 wins, slightly jaded to the under. Scott Wilson, what do you think about the 49ers?
See, I'm so biased in this particular division. It's going to be how Garoppolo does this year, right? I mean, 10.5, boy, that feels pretty good, but I can see them winning 11 games. I'm going to take over, but they're going to lose 2 against Seattle.
Larry Greenfield?
I got this team wrong last year. Nolan knows that. I thought they were awful in 2018, but their roster was obviously better than I realized. And also, I do like Shanahan. My two cents on that. It's actually a division of really interesting coaches. Kingsbury made some adjustments last year for Arizona, which I admired. I'm not sure about McVay in LA, if he's a little overrated. Seattle's coach, Pete Carroll, I've been following him since SC days and even before that. He's an interesting cat. We'll get to the Seahawks, but I like Shanahan. The schedule's modestly tougher this year after their Super Bowl appearance. Last year, 13-3. They're going to come down from that. I have them slightly over 10.5. The quarterback is somewhere between the 10th and the 15th best in the NFL. I have fairly accurate. A lot of dinking and dunking though. Low yardage per attempt. They picked up Trent Williams, the offensive lineman, which was a good pickup. 2020 defensive opponents get easier for them than last year's defensive opponents. They have a good secondary, giving the line time to get to the quarterback. They don't even need to blitz to get to the opposing quarterback. They do play against some better offenses this year, so I see some overs also for them. And lastly, they have a pretty easy schedule to start. Listen to this: Cards, Jets, Giants, Eagles, Dolphins, Rams, New England before they're at Seattle. And then they still have Washington to play. So the division that they all play from the NFC West is the NFC East, I believe, and also the AFC East, I believe. So I look for 11 wins. I'm going slightly over.
Doug?
I agree with that. I actually think they're going to come out 6-0, and the Seahawks have it actually relatively tough at the beginning of the season. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I see them 6-0. Not only did you have the opponents right, obviously, but the way it lines up is 4 of their first 6 are also at home. There are 2 road games. They have to go to New York twice, but they're in back-to-back weeks. They'll likely stay there.
Right.
And they're early in the season, so it won't be wet, it won't be cold. It'd be ideal for them to line up. I would not be at all surprised if they were 6-0 going to New England on the 25th of October. And then the schedule gets hard, right? New
Yes.
England, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, at the Rams, Buffalo, like is 6 in a row. I could also see them being 6-6 at that point. I think they'll be better than that at that stage. But the Seahawks like playing from behind, and so that kind of sets up, both those schedules set up very nicely for the end of the season, where the game finishes up at San Francisco on January 3rd. I expect to travel down for that one again, like I did last year.
I love that comment, by the way.
We're open, which I hope to be.
The Niners are going to get off to a fast start. Seahawks not so much. And then those schedules flip, and the Niners face a tough back half, and the Seattle gets an easy schedule. And so that division could shift, Nolan, halfway. And for those betting games, they might get depressed. Oh, the Seahawks are only 5-5. They might get hot. And the Niners could be way ahead, and they might have some tough games.
Yeah, and I'll also say that maybe the best rivalry in football, certainly the last 7-8 years, is the San Francisco Seattle rivalry. It's just, it's fantastic. These are both Super Bowl contenders, and it's going to continue for a while. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. When I saw this number at Spreads.ca, and it's about in line with other books. There's some 10s out there also here in Las Vegas. But I thought, don't the Seahawks ever get any respect? I mean, this is a team that won 11 last season. Russell Wilson is always hobbling around. They picked up some really good free agents, and they still don't get any respect from bettors. I can't figure it out. Scott Wilson, start off and tell us about your Seattle Seahawks.
I'm going to take the over on that for all those reasons, but I do think they're just defensively a lot better this year, and we got Quadri Diggs. He's been good at safety, and the pickup of Adams just makes that a really tough throwing center or throwing middle ground. So it's, I like it a lot. I think running back is the part where I've got the real concern for. Carson's had knee problems. There's not a lot of other guys next man up that you can go to. I thought we were going to make a play for Fournette. I thought that would have been a nice move, especially for what he went for. But that's my concern is the running game. I mean, you can let Russell do his thing, but it's nice to keep the threat of someone just coming up the middle to keep the receivers open. So that's my only real concern. And we'll see if they can pick somebody up just to be in that second position, and hopefully Carson can return to form.
All right, I got to ask you I call this the Cold Stone Creamery question. Do you like it or do you love it? If you've ever been there, like it or love it. Do you like it? Do you like the over or do you love the over, Scott?
I like the over. That beginning, we'll see how it goes by the Dallas game, and if there's a couple losses in there, that's going to be tougher to get optimistic about.
All right, just one dip, he says. Hold the sugar. Larry Greenfield.
Slight over on 9.5, but I'm not going to put any money on it. They're always an overachieving team. They seem to come up with key turnovers every year. Last year, they were number 3 in the league with 32 takeaways, 16 fumble recoveries in the first 12 games of the year, and then no more fumble recoveries as they went 2-4 through the end of the year in the playoffs. Only in 2017, Nolan, did the Seahawks fall under 10 wins in many recent years. They're obviously well coached and a tight-knit team. The offensive line is not great. It's not deep. They didn't really address it unless I missed something. Damian Lewis, their third-round pick, was the right guard, was the only effort to address it. They sometimes seem to struggle on first and second down. Russell Wilson is amazing with his third and longs, very admired quarterback. This year, he gets an easier set of pass defenses to go against. The receivers are decent. I don't have them as spectacular. They do have good tight end blockers. They play the 12 often. They run the ball a lot. They try to control the game. I could see them going under in several games during the year in terms of the point spreads week to week. The schedule is tough early, as I said. Then it gets very easy. They end with the Cards, Eagles, Giants, Jets, Washington, Rams, and then Niners in San Francisco. Nolan, I saw last time I looked, 1,800 to win the Super Bowl. That would be my bet. Plus 1,800 to win the Super Bowl.
That's basically 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's very attractive, it seems. Doug, any disagreement with our two companions down there?
No, not at all. I love that. I also love that bet. 18-1 to win the Super Bowl. I think that's a fabulous value for the team that Sportsnet.ca has in their preview to win the Super Bowl. So like, it's fabulous odds for that.
Can I add a note, Doug? Just on that point. They've expanded the playoffs, correct? There's now 7 from each conference. 14 teams out of 32 make the playoffs. So if you bet a team like the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl and they make the playoffs, well, now you can hedge. Now you can bet against them theoretically in their first or their second or their third playoff game. So you can have a lot of fun with that. You just really want to get teams that are going to make the playoffs with your Super Bowl bets.
It's a really great point. The additional playoff games bring lots of hedging opportunities if you get futures in now. Like, it's really good advice that a lot of people may not remember. Hey, the playoffs have expanded this year, right? Yes, they have. Getting back to the Seahawks season, I would not be shocked to see it run this way. I would not be shocked to see this. It would not be shocked. I don't expect it, but I would not be shocked to see the Seahawks be 0-5 going into their bye in Week 6, and then run the table to the 49ers game.
Wow.
That would not shock me at all. The team plays like that, right? When their back's up against it, they play really well. And when it's not, they don't. Like, it's a team that does take games off. And, there's at Miami on Week 4 is a trap. They play terribly on the road on the East Coast. I would not be shocked to see him be 0-5 and then be 10-5 and fighting for a playoff spot at San Francisco in last week.
All right, one more follow-up I have to ask. By the way, Seattle was 7-1 on the road last season, and there is some discussion now. Let's pretend there's fans in the seats in Seattle. Are they losing, Doug, their home field advantage? They're still just as loud as ever, but have opposing teams been able to just tune out the crowd noise in places like New Orleans and Seattle? Is that as big a factor as it used to be?
I still think I haven't looked at the year-over-year stats for things like false starts forced on home fields. They put it up when the Seahawks play every time there's a false start by the opponent, the total, where since 2010, the Seahawks #1 and the Vikings #2, right? Very loud in the new stadium in Minneapolis as well. For the same reason, the fans understand the game in Minneapolis just like they do in Seattle, and they are appropriately loud at the appropriate time. It's a blast to go. I do think it's a big home field advantage, and I think they're giving a lot up with not having fans in the stadium.
Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
I was going to say, Nolan, I haven't seen any academic research on this.
Big pause. Huge pause. Dramatic pause.
I cannot wait to see what Larry's going to say next.
He's got all those books behind him. He's going to pull something off the shelf.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Larry, are you still there?
But I speculate that. Are we good? Are we good?
Go ahead.
Are we here? Are we here?
The drama's killing us, Larry.
I was going to say in the NBA, I suspect that home court advantage impacts the refs. Similarly in college basketball. And I'm wondering if one of the reasons there's a home field advantage in the NFL and or college football is also because of the impact on the refs. Not so much that the team plays better or the other team can't hear the calls. What do you think about that?
It does kind of explain a couple of interesting end of game calls in Seattle for sure. Historically, I think about that Green Bay game, among others. Not a shocker, but like I'm so used to what we're used to as Seattle fans. We talk about this all the time, Scott. This will resonate with you. We don't get calls on the road.
That's for sure.
Yeah, see, it's a thing.
Yeah.
And so you might have a point there, Larry. I haven't really considered it that way, but yeah, it's interesting. And will that be less of a factor now if there's no fans?
Or will they play the indoor noise maker so loud that they'll still have that effect in Seattle?
They have a bump and sound system in CenturyLink, so that could be done.
Yeah. Well, they've changed the rules on it, right? It used to be you got fined as a team for pumping in noise, and now it's mandated. You got to pump in the noise.
All right, gentlemen. Well, let's wrap it up by giving our this will be the close of our show. I want to thank our special guest, all veterans that are been on the show now a second time, Doug Grismore, Larry Greenfield, and Scott Wilson. Thank you for joining me. You're now going to give us your forecast on the Super Bowl. Let's suppose we get through the whole season, and we're all on Scott Wilson's private jet. He's going to fly us all to the Super Bowl. Gentlemen, what two teams are we going to be watching? And also, in your answer, give us your surprise pick, your surprise team to look out for in the 2020 season. What team's going to come out of nowhere and shock everybody, and maybe they don't go to the Super Bowl, but they just like, wow, look, they came out of nowhere. Your surprise team and your two picks, including the winner of Super Bowl in February 2021. Who wants to take that first?
I don't see any big surprises this year myself, unless there's some rookie that we haven't really thought about and just makes an incredible difference on Cleveland or Cincinnati or some team like that. But we not in this division, because we didn't talk about the Brady team down in Tampa Bay. But I expect that getting through them is going to be an issue. When you look at the brackets, that's how they're going to be in that final bracket before you get there, I think. That's going to be the most interesting one for me to watch. But who are we going to call? Can it be Tampa Bay and Seattle coming in from the NFC? Sure, it could be, right? So who would I take on the AFC side? It's a bit of a crapshoot. I don't know. Vegas, just for fun, first year.
It's not like that's not been done before.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't break the AFC Championship down as Ravens Chiefs. And I don't even think it's close. That's one of my Vegas is one of my two dark horses in the AFC. The other one's Buffalo, who are actually projected to win the division. And I think 10 is maybe low. That team's got a ton of upside. It's really hard to play there. So I think the AFC playoffs will be very exciting. I don't know how you pick anybody that isn't in the NFC West. I wouldn't be surprised to see two NFC West teams in the championship game on the NFC side. I'm kind of a homer, so I'm going to say I'd really like to see my team get there. It's a depth thing. This is going to be a weird season. Injuries are going to play a big part of it. Health is going to play a big part of it. I'd love to see it be. I'd love to see a Seattle defense with Pete Carroll driving with his new defensive coordinator against either one of those offenses from the AFC, Kansas City or Baltimore.
All right. The bases are loaded, Mr. Greenfield. You're stepping into the plate, and Scott, myself, and Doug are all on base. Clean us off and bring us home. Who's going to be there?
Well, my surprise picks this year are the Bengals to far outperform, finally to have a reasonable season, and the Lions to do better than expected. I think that the AFC lines up as Buffalo, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and maybe the Steelers as the fourth best team. Probably a little better than I originally thought, so I've changed my mind on the Steelers because Ben looks really good, Roethlisberger, in preseason. So I like the Ravens to come out of the AFC. Just a great coach, and it seems like it'll be their year. The NFC, the Cowboys are going to win their division. The NFC West we just talked about will produce at least two, so Seattle and San Francisco. And I don't really like the rest of the league. Tampa Bay, I like them. So I think it'll be Baltimore beating the Niners in the Super.
All right, solid. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Terrific panel. Hope you'll join me again sometime. We're going to do this every single week. We're going to do a Monday Night Football one, or maybe we're going to do a preview every single week. And I want you all to come back. It's been a lot of fun. And we're going to hold you to the fire on that private jet, Mr. Wilson, to fly us all to the Super Bowl. So, well, especially if you get it right.
I haven't missed the Seahawks Super Bowl live. I was in Detroit. I was in Phoenix. I was in New York. But the border control and COVID restrictions may be an issue this year.
Maybe. All right. So since you can't go to the game, how about betting on the game? Go to Spreads.ca, especially you live there in Canada. You get a free bet, free $25 bet. How are you not shutting me off now and running to your computer and laying down some coin on? We got some basketball, we got hockey, we got golf, we got the NFL starting next week. Get down at Spreads.ca. And if not, just go to Pointspreads.ca and you can read the wisdom of Scott Wilson on golf, Larry Greenfield, who's our NFL guy, and myself writing a lot of stuff, trying to get Grismore to come in and write for us, but we can't afford him yet. Anyway, thanks for joining me, gentlemen. It's been a fun time here on Slapshot. I'm Nolan Dalla. We'll see you next time here on our show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Pleasure.